Like the information you're seeing, but not sure how to apply it to your own training? My name is Matt Taylor, and I'm the head coach and founder at Stronger You Personal Training. I've been coaching powerlifting since 2014 and competing in it myself since 2009. All of my lifters have either taken medals on the platform at the competitions they've competed at, gotten over an injury that's been preventing them from training properly, hit PRs in their training, so they're getting personal records and getting stronger over time, or some combination of those 3 points. If you're interested in getting in touch with me for some coaching inquiries, you can send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook, or an email from matt@strongerupt.com. I'll leave a link to also get in touch with me on the Instagram bio and below in the YouTube description. Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Matt from Stronger You here, and we're going through 3 ways to improve your sumo deadlift start position today. So really common issues I'll see with the sumo deadlift are basically just people not lining up properly over the bar, and they'll try to do what I call a conventional deadlift with a sumo stance. So what I mean by that is your conventional deadlift, you're generally going to be here, your armpits are over the bar, back stays relatively flat, right? But effectively your torso angle is leaned a little bit further forward than a sumo deadlift. One of the big advantages with sumo is you can be more upright, you shorten the range of motion. It's not a debate as to which one's easier. It's a build specific thing. But in terms of actual torso angle, conventional deadlift, you will be more horizontal. So with a sumo deadlift, what I'll see is people will either come from conventional or just simply not understand how to do sumo properly. And they'll set themselves up like this. Now you can see I'm pretty far in front of the bar. My armpits, if you draw a line from here, my armpits are 2, 3, 4 inches in front of the bar. What's going to happen when I start to lift the weight is either my butt's going to shoot up in order to get my shoulders back, or the bar is going to go out in front of me, or I'm going to round over, or some combination of the 3. This is a plate, so not very heavy for me, but the idea you'll see, my hips are going to want to shoot up a little bit. So if I'm here and I'm there, right, if I try to get my hips down because, oh, I need my hips lower, but I don't address my shoulders, you see how my butt shoots back and the bar starts to drift away from my legs. So instead, what we want to do is we want to get people to understand how to get armpits over the bar properly and shift their body weight into a more upright torso with their hips closer to the bar, where they can push through the legs and pull with the back evenly as they go through the lift. So ideally, again, we want that lift to look more like this, where the torso angle never increases as the lift goes on. You're either going to be static in the torso or a decreasing torso angle. So the first trick we use is getting you to deadlift up against the wall. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to walk the bar fairly close to the wall here. So I'm within 2 inches or so of the wall. Everyone's build is going to be a little bit different, so you might have to adjust within an inch or 2 of this. But basically I'm setting myself up, and my goal is to wedge myself in, get close to the bar without my head hitting the wall. So from here, and you'll see the only way I'm able to actually set up the deadlift properly is to get my lats tight and keep a more upright torso angle compared to, say, here where there's no wall in my way, where I'm much more forward now. And that's going to be disadvantageous because, again, I'm in front of the bar. The second way that we're going to take a look at adjusting your starting position to get you stronger off the floor is finding the right hip height. So like we mentioned in the first video, one of our big advantages with sumo is being more upright than a conventional deadlift. Now, that can be at the expense of certain other technique aspects if you don't know what you're looking for in the sumo. So again, as a quick refresher, we want armpits over the bar, shins are pretty much over the feet, and as you pull, the torso angle stays static or decreases. You're never going to lean further forward. So what I'll see with lifters who maybe understand that they were too far in front of the bar to begin with and try to get back is they'll over pull and they'll drop their hips really far, which pushes the bar forward. So because we want that bar over the midfoot, if I'm here, let's say, and I'm in front of the bar and I correct by dropping my hips and doing a squat instead of a deadlift now, you see how the bar gets pushed forward. Now that bar is in front of me, so when I start to pull, I'm going to somersault forward to try to line myself up with the bar. If I'm anything less than completely over the center of the barbell with my midfoot and with my shoulders, there's going to be some adjustments that take place. So for here, and we've got that lifter that's over pulling, and then pulling like that where they start to somersault, we want to get them to feel the tension point. And what I mean by that is they're going to initiate the pull. So I've got 135 pounds on the bar here. I'm going to pull maybe 130 pounds of slack out of the bar. So the bar is tight but not lifting off the ground.
And then without bringing my chest forward, I'm gonna see how far up I can get my hips without lifting the bar off the ground, without having to round my back, and without my chest coming forward. So again, from here, my hips are too low. I'm gonna lift the hips, and for me, that's as far as I can go up without leaning forward and without rounding my back. So that's the point that I wanna set up to. And then start all my pulls from there. So from here, find the sweet spot for the hips, and then come up. Okay, and so the third and final way to improve your starting position in your sumo deadlift is understanding what's a good stance width for your mobility. So if your stance is too wide or too narrow for your build and for your hip mobility, it's gonna be counterproductive because you're always gonna be fighting yourself. And what I mean by this is, let's say I can control my hip range to about here, but I've seen a bunch of top level lifters and they are all doing max stance where I can't go any wider without clipping my toes, for example, right? And I'm trying to force this, but my hips only open up to here. Well, I'm gonna have a problem because I can't really change how far my hips are gonna open up before I hit bone on bone. And so I'm gonna end up stuck like this because my knees and my hips are gonna open up to that stance. So what that's gonna mean is now I'm gonna be stuck here where I get pitched in front of the bar a lot, or I've gotta use my back a lot to pull, which isn't necessarily bad, but if I can't use my legs, I'm leaving a lot on the table. So if I can only control to here, there's no sense having your feet that wide. Instead, I'm better off taking some time building strength here, maybe working on building up my mobility. So quick test for this is we just simply go through a tactical frog, okay? So the idea with this is you want your shins always completely parallel to each other. You don't want your feet to come in. And you're simply going to rock back until your hips pass 90, keep your back flat, lift up one foot, lift up the other. And if you can do all that without having to move your spine and you move fully through your hips, great. That's a good width. And from there, you would go a little wider and do the same thing. Rock back, lift, lift, and so on. Now from there, you're eventually gonna find a width where you can't go wider without having to compromise range. Where let's say I can go super wide, but I can't rock back past 90 without rounding my back or cheating somehow. So I'd go back to that stance that I can control. I'd look at the width of my knees, and that's where my feet go for my sumo deadlift now. So again, if I can get my knees this wide in that tactical frog, I'm gonna put my feet this wide in my sumo deadlift because I know that's a range of motion I can control and that works for my leverages in the sumo. Hopefully that helps, and we'll see you guys next week.